So I'd like to go through a few one-step inequalities with you, go through how we solve and graph and all of those things. You already worked with some inequalities that involved addition and subtraction. Things like x plus 3 is less than 7. We solve this the same way you would solve an equation. I want to get the x by itself. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I'm going to get x. I'm going to keep my symbol. X is less than 4. To show this on the number line, we put a tick mark at 4. I'm not going to bother with the other ones. I know I'm going to need to use an open circle, and I'm going to draw my ray pointing to the left. If I gave you x minus 5 is less than 8, well, the opposite of subtraction is addition. I'm going to add 5 to both sides, and I'm going to get the inequality x is less than 13. To graph this, open circle at 13, pointing to the left. My ray points the same direction as the symbol as long as the x comes first over there. 3 is less than or equal to x minus 1. Well, to solve this, I want to get the x by itself, so I need to get rid of my subtraction problem. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. That's going to give me 4 is less than or equal to x. However, I want the x to come first. And if I want the x to come first, I have to flip absolutely everything around, including my symbol. So I'm going to get x is greater than or equal to 4. Tick mark at 4 with a closed dot, and I'm going to point to the right. Let me show you some of these, though, that involve multiplication and division. Two x is less than 18. 2x, remember, means 2 times x, and we can always stick the little multiplication dot in between those. To get rid of multiplication, we have to use division. I'm going to go and divide both sides of my inequality by 2. When I do that, I'm going to get an x on the left side, because those 2's cancel each other out, less than, well, 18 divided by 2, use the calculator, that's going to give you 9. Number line with a tick mark at 9, open circle, and I'm going to point that way. 5x is greater than or equal to 20. Pause the video and you see if you can go do this. 5x means 5 times x. I'm going to divide both sides by 5, and I'm going to get x is greater than or equal to 4. Close dot at 4, and I'm pointing to the right. Let's take a look at this one. Negative 3x is greater than is greater than 18. Negative 3x is a multiplication problem. It's negative 3 times x. When you have a number written right next to your variable, it meant multiplication. To get rid of multiplication, I'm going to use division. However, there's an extra rule about solving inequalities. If you ever multiply or divide an inequality by a negative number, you have to flip your symbol. Let me write that down. If you ever multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip the symbol. So that's going to give me x. I'm going to flip my symbol around, and 18 divided by negative 3 will give you negative 6. I'm going to put that on my number line, tick mark at negative 6, open circle, and we're going to point to the left. Let's do another. Let's do negative 5x is less than negative 30. Negative 5x, that meant negative 5 times x. I'm going to divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5. That gives me x. That gives me 6. And because I'm dividing by a negative number, I have to flip my symbol. I'm going to get x is greater than 6. Open circle at 6, point to the right. A few more. Let's look at 14 is less than or equal to 2x. 14 is less than or equal to 2x. Remember, 2x means 2 times x. So we're going to go and divide both sides by 2. That's going to give me 7 is less than or equal to x. Remember, though, we always want that x to come first. So now I'm going to flip everything around, including the symbol, to make the x come first. I'm going to get x is greater than or equal to 7. That means close dot at 7, point that way. Let's do a tricky one. Let's do negative 10 is greater than negative 2x. Negative 2x, remember, means negative 2 times x. I'm going to go and divide both sides of this by negative 2. What do you have to remember when you divide by a negative? I hope you just said, maybe just in your head, but I hope you just said, flip that symbol around. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get 5 is less than x. However, now there's a second reason to flip this one. I flip when I divide by a negative, but I'm also going to flip everything if I want my x to come first. My final answer here is going to be x is greater than 5, which is going to look like open circle at 5, point that way. The last thing I want to go through with you are some problems where we have division and have to solve by using multiplication. Let's look at an inequality like this. X divided by 4 is greater than 3. Well, this is a division problem. And to undo division, the opposite of division is multiplication. I'm going to multiply both sides of my inequality by 4. That's going to give me x is greater than 12. Put that on a number line, tick mark at 12, open circle, point to the right. How about you push pause and try x over 3 is less than or equal to 7 and use your calculator to help you out with this. Push pause. To get rid of divide by 3, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3, so that's going to give me x is less than or equal to 21. Tick mark at 21 with a closed dot, pointing to the left. Next, let's take a look at x divided by negative 5 is less than or equal to 7. To get rid of divide by -5, I'm going to multiply both sides by -5. However, if you ever multiply or divide by a negative number, flip the symbol. I'm multiplying by this negative number over here. That's going to make me flip my symbol, and I'm going to get x is greater than or equal to -35. Close dot at -35, point to the right. X over -7 is greater than +6. You go try this one. Use your calculator and see what you can do. Push pause in the meantime. So we're going to multiply both sides by -7. That's going to give me x. Multiply by a negative. Flip that symbol. X is less than -42. Open circle at -42, pointing towards the door. Let's try this one. X over 3 is less than -2. X over 3 is less than -2. I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. Times 3 times 3. I am not multiplying by a negative number, though. Because I'm not multiplying by a negative, I'm not going to flip my symbol. I'm just going to get x is less than -6. Graph this with a tick mark at -6. We'll point that way. I can put things on the other side. I can say 8 is less than or equal to x over 3. 8 is less than or equal to x over 3. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3. No flipping anything yet. We're multiplying by a positive number. We'll leave things alone. Use your calculator to help with that multiplication, but you'll get 24 there. And now I get 24 is less than or equal to x. Well, I should flip this around, though, to make the x come first to make it easier to graph. Close dot at 24, pointing that way. One last one, and then I want you to try a bunch of those in Delta Math. Let's try -1 is greater than or equal to x over -4. To get rid of my divide by -4, I have to multiply both sides by -4. So times -4 times -4. -4 times -1 is +4. I'm getting the x on the other side. Because I multiplied by a negative, I have to flip my symbol, and I'm going to get 4 is less than or equal to x. But that's still not okay, because I want the x to come first. I'm going to flip everything around and get x is greater than or equal to 4. On the number line, this gives me a tick mark at 4. Close dot. Point to the right. You go try a bunch of these now in Delta Math.